Hi, and welcome to this moon review. And today's book is Flame and Song by Phillippa Kabali-Kagwa. I chose this book because I named the moon review for the book club that I belong to, the 13 moons or the 13 African moons, depending on where you're from. Uh, Philippa is a member of this book club, and she was a facilitator at our retreat, our writers' retreat earlier this year, actually in January. So, almost a year ago, uh, 13 women met up to talk about books, and we just had a fabulous time. And she and Deirdre Prince Solani were the facilitators, and they were just amazing. And at that writer's retreat, she told us that she was in the process of editing the manuscript, which is now this book. And she's Ugandan. She's of Ugandan extraction and a Cape Townian who's been a Cape Townian who's lived in South Africa for the past 23 years. Long, long time. And this book is about Uganda mostly, for the most part. And she talks about her family, about Uganda under Idi Amin, and the politics of the time, and the life during that time, life under Amin, and how fearful it was, but at the same time, being a child, how joyful and almost with a tinge of magic that her childhood could be, her childhood was. Um, I'm not gonna talk that much about the history part, the first part, which is the history part and the childhood part. Beautiful, beautifully written, so full of music and poetry and the through the eyes of a child. And I don't often read books like that, and when I do, they are the ones that I actually appreciate the most. One of my favorite books is The Elegance of the Hedgehog, and it is through the eyes of a child. The first half of this book is through the eyes of Philippa, the girl, Philippa, the child, and it's wonderful. It's history, and it is playing, and family, and food. There's a lot of food in this book. It's gonna make you hungry. It really did make me hungry. I wanted matoke. I wanted whatever they were eating in this book. At any time that she mentioned food, I was like, oh, salivating. I want some of that. And I wanted to go to, I've always wanted to go. I still do. I wanted to go to Uganda and just see the things that she was talking about, and the places, and the people, the sights, the smells, and just the beauty of this country. It really did come through in the writing of this book. And also music. She'd write poetry, and sometimes she'd have a full song, and some of it is in Luganda, and I'm imagining what it sounded like. And a lot of the words I could translate. As a Malawian, I could easily translate some of the words, some of the Luganda words. Um, and I was so surprised, unless they were Masaba, Eish, her mother's people, are not Luganda. So unless they were actually talking a different language, they were actually not talking Luganda. But anyway, their home language, I was like, but I know these words. So it wasn't so difficult to actually read in the language. It wasn't just English that you're reading. Some of it is in her home language, and it is beautiful to see that. What else can I say about this book besides it being a treasure trove of Ugandan history, culture, food, poetry, and as a memoir, as a personal history, it is lovely. And what else can I say about it? As a as an insight into African family life, you can't beat it. The family is five children, and two of them have had cerebral palsy, and just the love and the care that the family has for every single member of the family, and how they included these kids, how they included each member of the family, despite this being a serious illness. They are just members of the family, and they are loved. And I love that, because we don't get to read about illness and disability in quite this way, and in quite such an intimate way as this, and a loving way within the family as this. So there's a lot here. There's a lot to recommend this book. Not just that, just Philippa's ability of just see the way she sees things, the way she describes things, and with joy. There's a theme of joy here, even though not everything is joyful. Um, there's this lack of heavy-handedness with the themes. There's this light touch where you just, some parts amaze you, like, oh, that actually happened, oh my gosh, and you realize the seriousness of it. But she's got such a light touch just in describing sometimes actually horrific things that happened early on in her growing up years under Armin. So there is that. There's the political side, and there is the family side. There's the history, and then there's just the journey from girlhood into adulthood, and that in those in between years when she is in high school, and just that. It was lovely to read, because I thought of my own childhood. You don't, when you read a book about African middle classes, the African middle classes as they are, if I may say that, perhaps you don't always get to see joy. Maybe you'll see dysfunction, you'll see displacement, you'll see a whole lot of things, but there's joy here. And there's just that looking at the world through a young girl's eyes, and she is in different settings, different locations. I mean, it's three countries, and then she goes to her fourth, and then she goes to her fifth, and then finally, I think this is South Africa is her sixth country, basically. Like at some point she's in Lesotho, that's four. At some point she's in Namibia, five, and then she eventually settles in South Africa with her husband, and she's got her family here, her three children. And so when you think about somebody who's had quite a number of, had quite an experience, and in life, and she's had lots of journeys, shall I call them, journeys and experiences, and meetings of all kinds of people, and things happening to her family members, and people who she loves, and that she knows. And it's just, the telling is actually quite amazing. I actually wish it was a set work, because of the historical context, and just the context of seeing life through the eyes of an African child, an African woman. And you do get those, but I think there's a theme here where it's not about tragedy. It's not about it. There's politics, but it's not that political memoir as such. It's a personal history, and it's a you know it's an ode to family. It's an ode to her parents, and a beautifully crafted ode, I must say. don't know them, but I think they would be proud. Um, because just the way she talks about them and the love that shines through her and through the family itself and the things that they went through. I think it's a must read, and I would love it. I would love for it to be a set work in high school, in some schools. I don't know, but I think it would be a great addition to somebody's curriculum. I'm just putting it out there. Wish fulfillment. I don't know. I'm putting it out there. So yeah, there's the themes of family, love, politics, um, even disability and illness, and nation building, a feeling of belonging or displacement. There are those themes. Identity. There are those themes. So I would highly recommend this book. I would highly recommend it. It's a beautiful read. Okay. Thank you. Until next time. Take care.